Happy Sunday afternoon. If you've been here the whole weekend and you're awake, I almost need toothpicks, but I'm still awake. And I don't know how some of you are managing to be awake also, because there's just so much cool stuff going on this weekend. And we are really lucky to have with us Tracy Eccles from South Africa. And I know we have a cheering section. Now she danced if there were more than 10 people here. So that's why I put these orange cones out there for her to dance in between. So this is going to be fun. Not going to happen. So what's so really awesome about this is because she's been doing this owl camp, the spotted eagle owl in South Africa for several years. And she's done some really phenomenal stuff with it, besides sharing the owls with the world and losing her entire private life because they're right on the balcony outside her bedroom window, and there's audio as well as video on there. She's leveraged their popularity to help save a wetland in the extremely urban place where she lives in Johannesburg. There's a wetland that was developers just started bulldozing, and they got that stopped with a petition with over 27,000 signatures on it. And because of what she's done, pot plant owl, the spotted eagle owl, female, that's her name, pot plant owl, and she'll explain the name if you don't already understand the name, won the Lady Grail Award in our World Owl Hall of Fame. So since pot plant owl couldn't fly in herself personally to receive the award, she sent Tracy on her behalf. So I'll turn it over to Tracy at this point. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks. Hello everybody. In Afrikaans, in our language, we say goeiemorgen. So good morning to everybody. And thank you very much for being here. I'm really pleased that there are more than 10 people, so here's my little dance. Thank you. Before I begin, because when I do these talks, I do them in South Africa, a lot of people know the story of pot-plant owl, and we do not have the problem of the title of the presentation that we have here in America. So I'm just going to address that quickly, and then I'll start my presentation. All right, pot-plant owl. Unlike the title, it has no connotations whatsoever to any form of illicit drugs that I might be giving to these owls to keep them in that container. In South Africa, a potted plant is a pot plant. And the reason we called our presentation, our book, and basically the branding of this owl, pot plant owl, is to try and create an awareness for South Africans that if they see any spotted eagle owls, because she's a spotted eagle owl, that are sitting in a pot plant, especially little chicks, please just let them stay there, because it's probably a nesting, a familiarity of a nest that they're used to. I'm Tracy, and as Carla said, I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Johannesburg is one of our biggest cities. It's very similar to New York, extremely built up. It's a concrete jungle. We have very little open space, so luckily next to us we have a beautiful open space of a wetland. But other than that, it's big suburbia. You know, lots of cars, lots of people, lots of activity, and unlike media reports, not that much crime. So it's actually a pretty nice city. Now, a few years ago, my husband and I, we're both runners. We like running around the neighborhood. We do the odd marathon or two. And we decided that we would go for a run in a different area. So we got on our running shoes, we got out the front door, and instead of turning left, we basically turned right and just headed and followed our nose. And about 7 miles down the road, we came to this open piece of land with a for sale sign on it. And we looked at it, and it had the most amazing view, a beautiful view. And then to the right of us, we saw this wetland, and we just thought, this is great. So the next morning, which is a Monday morning, we made inquiries, and we decided there and then we were going to buy that and we were going to build our roof, and one was on the neighbor's roof, and you heard this hoot hoot. I can't do collars, so I'm not going to even try. but hoot hoot, and then the reply there, and you know they were talking to each other. And we thought, oh, this is fantastic, because this means now that these owls are just saying, welcome to the neighborhood. I believe owls are a good omen. I'm not at all superstitious about them, so I thought, oh, fantastic, you know, this is just great. Now, we saw and heard these owls for 3 years, and we would see them probably about 6 months of the year, at least 4 or 5 times, often on our balcony, the rooftops nearby, hooting and flying around and going into the wetland to hunt. So often now that you actually see them. So we thought, oh, this is great, you know, we're just going to enjoy this. Until one morning, 4 years ago, we woke up and we've got a double-story house. Main bedroom is upstairs, and leading off the main bedroom there's a sliding door and there's a little balcony. So the balcony is from me to the front row here away, and it's quite small and it's lovely. We often go out there. So that morning we woke up and I heard a big noise coming from the balcony. So I went to the curtains, drew the curtains open, and there were 2 crows, and they were trying to mob a single spotted eagle owl. And these 2 crows were obviously, they're predatory birds, and they're trying to get rid of the owl. And the owl was lying in the potted plant that you see there, and it was lying flat down, and of course was getting irritated by the crows. So at the sight of me, the 3 birds took off, and they were flying around, and there was noise in the area, and the garden birds were going chirp, 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 chirp. You know, they weren't happy that the owl was there, they weren't happy that the crows were there, until eventually about midday, the noise subsided, and my husband and I went, you know, I happened to go into the bedroom for something because we work from home and our office is literally next door. And I looked outside on the balcony, and there in the potted plant was this owl, and it was lying down. So I thought, oh, sweet Alan, come have a look here. So then we're going like this, taking the camera and going tick, tick, you know, and phoning our friends and saying, you won't believe what we've got on our balcony now. Still not thinking anything of it. You know, we just thought, you know, poor thing, it probably hasn't been able to get to its roosting spot, and I'm sure, you know, when it leaves this evening, that's the last that we'll see of it on our balcony. And as I walked out and looked in the potted plant, I saw an egg, and I knew immediately it was the owl egg. So I picked this thing up, and it's the size of a chicken egg and white, and it was freezing cold, and I said to Alan, wow, this is an owl egg, but it's cold, what do we do? So thankfully Alan has a little bit more birding background. He used to do ornithological tours for a couple of very well-known bird experts in South Africa, and he said, no, put the egg back, we will phone a wildlife rehabilitation centre in the morning and just ask them what their advice is. So the next morning I phoned them up and I told them the story to the manager of the rehabilitation centre, and I will never forget her first words to me. She said, you've lost your balcony. And I said, pardon? So she said, you've lost your balcony. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. And she said, this spotted eagle and owl has now chosen your pot plant and your balcony as her nest. And she's now going to come back. She's going to lay between another 1 or 2 eggs, normally 3 eggs. And you're going to have the privilege of watching the chicks and experiencing the whole thing. So I put the phone down and I just said to Alan, what do we do now? And we bought cardboard and we started making up a makeshift hide in the bedroom. So we've got those sliding doors, now the glass sliding doors, and up goes this cardboard and newspaper to about face height here. On the side there's a panel of windows. We boarded up all of the windows except for one at face height. And that's how we started. Next thing, we were on the phone to everyone and saying, you won't believe what's happening. And they said, oh, you must let us know. Did it go through the whole? Oh, okay, no. All right. I was wondering why you were so quiet. So we set everything up, and obviously we let everyone know that this was happening, and they said to us, all of our friends and our family were saying, oh, but you've got to keep us updated, you've got to keep us updated. So we said, look, it's ridiculous to do that. What we'll do is we'll keep a little diary, we'll post a few pictures, and we'll have a little link on our company website, and then you can go in and see it. So that was the beginning. What I wanted to do right from the onset is not habituate the owls to humans. Around the world, obviously, there are a lot of owl superstitions. In South Africa and in other parts of Africa, it's very rife. So if an owl lands on your roof, somebody close to you is going to die. They get found in the muti trade, which is the traditional medicine trade, and they are used for things like aphrodisiacs, and they are hurt and maimed quite a lot. So the first thing that we want you to do is be able to establish some kind of understanding that we're not going to hurt them, but at the same time make sure that they keep wild. Establishing some kind of communication with the owl was to see if I could get her to recognize my voice. So I used to go to that one little window, and I used to open it up every morning, so she's there now, and I'd put my head out and I'd go, "Hello, Mummy," and I'd look at her, and she'd stare at me like that. So then I'd back off, and I think, okay, fine. So that was day one. Next day, "Hello, Mummy," stare. Then I thought, all right, we've got parrots at home, and one of the things with parrots is obviously a lot of repetition. If you want them to do something, you've got to do it over and over and over again. So I was prepared to do that with Mama. And then I thought, well, if I'm saying hello to her and I'm staring at her, perhaps I'm being confrontational, so I'm going to try another trick. So the next day, I put my head out the window and I said, "Hello, Mummy," and I gave her one wink. And again, stare. That's all I got. But over time, and it didn't take long, it was about 4 or 5 days after that, I put my head out the window and I said, "Hello, Mummy," and I gave her a wink, and she looked at me and she winked back. And I went, "Allan!" And then immediately she was staring at me. He comes rushing in, "What's wrong, what's wrong?" I said, "What? No, then of course he looks out and she's staring, and now she's cross, she's not happy at all. But that actually was the start of our communication, and I did get her to do it, and now, 4 years later, every time I go to that window and I open it up, she just has to see half of my head, and she quickly looks at me, she winks and she looks away, because she knows that if she doesn't do that, this woman is not going to leave her alone. And 3 eggs. I like in that period, if you're watching it, to paint drying. Nothing happens. She's bored, I'm bored. The eggs, they just roll around and they're bored, I'm sure. Really, honestly, nothing happens. For a brief period in the evening, she'll leave and she'll fly to a rooftop just nearby, and she, drops a pellet, stretches her wings, looks away bored. Papa, the male, he'll come in and do the feeding for her and bring in her food. And nothing much happened, but I still had to update every single day that nothing happened on this link, because if I didn't by 10 o'clock in the morning, we would start getting phone calls and emails. "What's wrong? Have you taken her to the vet? Is there something's wrong? Is she sick?" So we have to keep on doing this regular update. Right, so this is my beautiful pot plant owl. And there, you see, that's the evidence. Wink. Okay, that is what I used to contend with. That horrible piercing stare that literally goes through you, and she looks at you as if to say, one move, and watch it. Right, that's the container. The container stands about this tall. The diameter is about that. I'm not going to give you inches and feet because I don't know that, so you're just going to have to guess. And in there were 2 eggs at the time. The balcony, as I said, is on the 2nd floor, so there is quite a drop. Behind, you can see the balcony pillar. The balcony pillar in diameter is quite small. Now, what happens is these little rascals, the chicks, once they start getting too big for that pot plant, which is not